Hello everyone and welcome back to our course. In the previous lecture, we learned how we can visualize risk or standard deviation versus expected returns for each stock. In this lecture, we're going to learn how we can calculate value at risk and also visualize it. So I'm going to make a new code cell and I'm going to use Seaborn to create another type of plot known as a dist plot. Then I'm going to choose one of my stocks. For example, I can do Goog, and at its column of daily return, which we created, we're going to first drop all the possible null values. Then we're going to assign the number of bins we want to be 100. All right. And then I'm going to run this code cell and I'm going to get this plot. Look at this. So we have a histogram, but we also have a line that shows us the distribution of the histogram. So on the Y column, we have density, and on the X column, we have daily return. And we can see here that the highest frequency of daily return was about 37, and the value was about 0. So that was the most frequent daily return, but then we can see all the other ones as well. Okay, and next, let's now get one of the quantiles from our returns. So we have this variable that we created earlier called returns. First, let's just get some quick info from it. We can just call returns.head to return the first 5 columns of that data frame. Here we go. So here we can see the returns for the first 5 days in our data set. Next, let's get a quantile. So we're going to get an empirical quantile of daily returns. Let's start with a value like 0.05, for example. So we'll take returns, and at one of the columns, like FB, we can get a quantile of 0.05. Then when I run this code cell, let's get our result. Okay, we have negative 0.04. So that means that the 0.05 empirical quantile of daily returns is negative 0.04 for Facebook. So 95% of the time, the worst we can lose per day is going to be 4% of our investment. So this is the value at risk as a decimal, but if you multiply it by 100, let's just multiply that value by 100 here and hit run. Then we get this value 4, and that represents the percentage. So this means that the worst we can lose per day is 4% of our investment for the past year. We can choose any quantile value we want. For example, we could choose 0.95, hit run, and rerun this code cell, and we get this time the value 5. So that represents the 0.95 empirical quantile of daily returns. So this means that with 5% confidence, 5% of the time, the worst that we can lose per day is going to be 5% of our investment for the past year. All right, and that is how we can calculate value at risk. Next up, we're going to learn another form of analysis to calculate risk, known as Monte Carlo analysis. We're going to calculate risk and also visualize it. So join me in the next lecture where we will continue our project.